Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Laura.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Oh, there, I can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I'm going to put my headphones in because I still have people at home.
I see you got a screen behind you.
I did, yeah, and I'm not happy with it because it's like a woven thing there.
Yeah, you can see the sun. It's okay. You can still see stuff behind mine. Look, you see the kitchen lights on.
Yeah, so I need to get drapes back there or something.
Things we have to do. Mark, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you put your video on?
I'm trying.
Oh, here. Let me prompt you.
I keep hitting start video, but it doesn't do anything. Start my video. Okay, let's see if it works. Well, I know because I know that my camera's working because I just opened it up. I can see myself.
Huh.
Let me close that.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Look at
Okay.
this. No. I don't know how to fix it.
You want to, wait.
Oh, there you go.
Are.
I had to do it on my end. I guess you unlocked my end. Okay.
Here you are. You made it.
Yep, I made it.
Is it still snowing?
No, it's not snowing, but we had a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard.
Something you don't.
No.
Now, where are you? Are you east or west?
I'm west in Tampa.
You're in Tampa.
Near Tampa. Laura, this is Mark Moriello.
Hi.
Mark, this is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Mark's coming from New York today. He's
Oh, wow.
defrosting, thawing out.
Oh, yeah. How's it going up there?
It's actually quite nice, but you have to like snow.
That's
Yeah,
right.
how much snow did you get?
We got about 18 inches the other day, and we had about 10 to 12 on Friday. So we just had two pretty significant storms.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
Laura's in Florida with me. She lives near me.
Very pretty, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends was sending video, and it did, like, it just after everything had fallen, and it was gorgeous. I'm like, oh, that's just so pretty. But I know.
You have to shovel it. or have someone shovel it for you.
Yes.
Well, Mark, I promoted this, and a ton of people said they were coming. So let's see.
It's okay. It didn't matter to me one way or the other. I've never done a webinar, and this is, for all intents and purposes, a webinar. So you gave me an opportunity to do it without thinking it was that, which probably made me a little less concerned.
Yeah. Well, you're among friends, so you're good.
Yeah. That's another good part about doing it in this format.
Yeah.
So how do you know each other?
Fabienne.
Oh, okay. So that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Mark has known Fabienne. How long have you known her?
Since 2005.
Yeah. He's known her very longer than me. And I thought I knew her a long time.
Because she was not who she is today. She was a coach, essentially a marketing coach. And I think she had enough people to be earning $75,000 a year.
Yeah.
So access to her was like, any coach.
Sure.
Like, oh, hi. And it was very informal at that time. Who knew?
Yeah. Now.
This was where she was going, because I didn't at the time. We worked together for about 6 months. I ended up in a different business, so I didn't need the marketing part because that's not what I was doing. And I always kept watching, and suddenly I'm seeing these very different communications. And
and now, is she in France now? Is that where she is full time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Jill.
How are you, sweetie?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Another New Yorker in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mark and Kathleen. Mark, meet Kathleen. Kathleen, meet Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Kathleen. What part of New York?
I'm from Long Island.
Okay.
Where are you?
I'm over an hour north of you.
Okay.
Where my family's from.
Ah.
My family all lives in Poughkeepsie and Newburgh.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just down the street from there. So.
Yeah.
I was born in Glens Falls.
Were you? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I only lived there for maybe the first year of my life, so I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't remember that?
Nope.
I don't remember it. Yeah. I lived in New York till we moved on my 6th birthday. We came to Florida, so I don't remember much either.
Yeah.
I call myself a semi-native Floridian. I'm just turning off my email so you don't hear dings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and get this meeting started, and so if people come in, we'll welcome them, but I would like to honor our time. So welcome to Virtual Networkers. I'm glad everybody is here. Look at the scene there.
I know.
That's gorgeous. Squirrel, like, wah! To do attendance at this meeting, we ask everybody to go to the chat box and type in your name and your email address. And
Assuming I know how to do that. Okay.
if not, I'll type it in for you, Mark.
My name. Okay. I know my name.
Yeah, okay, good. That you got down, your email address. And just so you know, this meeting is recorded, and when we are all done, I send all
Now,
participants.
you had to say that, because now I'm going to be told.
Oh, no, it's not recorded at all, Mark. Not at all. And I send all participants maybe a link to the recording. I'm just kidding. And a copy of the chat box. So that if there was an email address in there you didn't capture or something like that, you can do that. Hi, Virginia. Virginia, we have another New Yorker in the house. It's the New York delegation is here representing the great
It's the Snow Brigade.
It's the Snow Brigade.
Yeah.
Mark, you know Virginia?
Hi,
Sure.
Virginia.
Hi, Mark.
Good to see you, sweetie.
Yeah, you too.
I was
Thanks
just
for doing
telling,
it.
yeah. I was just telling everybody to go to the chat box and introduce yourself, put your name and your email address in there. Kathleen. Kathleen.
Yeah.
Good morning. Hi, Diana. Good morning. Oh, look, Mark. Look at your crowd of women you're attracting.
Wow.
How did everybody do yesterday?
Hi, Caitlin.
Were you sufficiently honored?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
International Women's Day. I went and spoke. Not for.
Oh, did you?
I was at Keep It Local.
Oh, that's right. West
We
Chase.
got more beers. Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy.
Wow, Cindy Key. Long time.
See all these awesome people you've attracted, Mark?
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Networkers. So glad everybody is here. We are just getting started, so if you could open the chat box and type your name and your email address in there. This is a recorded networking meeting, so once this meeting is over with, I will send everybody a copy of this recording, especially because I know Mark's content is going to be awesome. And I also will send you a copy of the chat box so that you'll have the email addresses and the names of people here in case you want to follow up. So instead of business cards, we do chat boxes. That's how we do it in the virtual world. So I'm just going to say hi, make sure that everybody, Cindy's here, Virginia, Diana, Kathleen, Mark, Socially Speak, Laura. Awesome. Everybody, that's so good to see everybody. So how this meeting runs, it runs just like a real networking meeting. We're going to go around the room and do 30-second commercials. I will call on you. Don't worry about having to wonder whose turn it is next. So you'll do your 30-second commercials, your elevator speeches. And then once that's concluded, I will introduce our speaker, Mark Mariello, and then he will take over the helm and talk to you about trademarking. And then once that is done, we'll go around the room again to any announcements you wish to make, any referrals you're looking for, any asks that you have. We will be happy to help you out and see what we can do for you. And then we will finish up the meeting right at 9 o'clock. So I'm excited to see some fresh faces here. And I'll go ahead and start with our 30-second commercials. And I'm just going to go in order of the screen in front of me, so it's completely random. So Laura Shipman is up first.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Laura Shipman. I'm actually the founder of Keep It Local. We have about 25 chapters and a couple that are launching all over the greater Tampa Bay area. And all of our meetings are weekly. Jill has been innovative enough to invite or to suggest the opportunity of doing a virtual networking chapter, which I've always wanted to do and wasn't sure how to do it. But so Jill and I, we collaborated and created this. So we're really excited about this new venture for Keep It Local.
Yay! Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here too. She's an awesome founder. She comes to our meetings. She can't make all of them, but she does like ours. Mark, I know you're a speaker, but go ahead and do your 30-second.
That's okay. My name is Mark Moriello. My website is mycoopartner.com. I've taken my 30-plus years in business and law, and those experiences are useful to small and solo businesses so that we address their legal, operational, financial challenges, and we together turn their problems into profits.
A lot of us know Mark from Bold Heart and Fabienne, so we're glad to see you here today. Thank you, Mark, for being our speaker.
Happy to be here.
Kathleen, how about you go next?
Hi, everyone. I am Kathleen Gubitosi, and I'm a professional voice coach, specializing in holistic voice health.
Oh boy, I'm in trouble now.
Improving the sound of your voice and how it's received by others, and also voice. I work with professional speakers, non-professional speakers, and singers to refine their physical voice image and increase connection to their audience and fine-tuning the voice of their business.
And Kathleen can sing.
Really? That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she's got a beautiful voice. I had the pleasure of listening to her through Facebook. So we'll have you sing later for us. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Another time.
Virginia, would you like to go next?
Sure. Virginia Barthel, I'm the European Travel Whisperer. I specialize in customized travel for groups and individuals to Europe.
Yay! We're glad you're here.
Thanks.
It's good to see you. Diana, so good to see you too. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I am Diana Robinald. My business is High Velocity Foods, and I also have High Velocity Lifestyle, both under construction. The High Velocity Lifestyle specializes in supporting people who have overwhelming abundance with all the minutiae in their life, such as installing a new roof, finding a contractor, setting up their vacation home, kind of a Girl Friday service. And the High Velocity Foods is taking all that support from my high velocity 1%ers that I work for and turning it into a 50% fundraiser for donation for people who have food scarcity issues, homelessness, and supporting them in cooking and gardening.
Very cool. Glad you're here, Diana. And I know Diana's probably on her way.
I am, and I'm actually going to figure out how to flip this into my phone so that I can listen while I go to my full-time job. And I'll be working on that quietly and sticking with everybody. Thank you.
That's awesome. We're glad you're here. Hey, Cindy, how are you?
Hi.
Good. You're up next.
All right. I'm a career catalyst. I work with high-performing teams in the corporate world and also individuals that want to reshape, rebrand, or accelerate their career where they're at right now. I've taken a short leave of absence. I've been on hospice duty all night, so I apologize for my appearance, but I decided I was going to do this anyway.
We're glad you're here. Yeah, absolutely. I think you look gorgeous. So there you go.
Well, thanks. I don't feel gorgeous. I feel kind of, it's been a rough night. So, but
I'm sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, we're glad you're here, and hopefully all our love will help settle things for you today, or this morning at least, give you a little reprieve.
It's a good reprieve.
Yeah, nice distraction, right? Yeah. And then Mark's going to tell us about trademarking, so I know you'll get some good scoop there. So we're going to move into, speaking of Mark, we're going to go ahead and move into our guest speaker. I have an official bio here, but I have two monitors, so I apologize. You're going to see my profile But I'm going to read his official bio, and then Mark, I'm going to have you take over, okay?
Okay.
So here's what Mark says about himself. As a dedicated advisor and attorney for 3 decades. He started when he was 3, by the way. I have provided entrepreneurs a unique blend of guidance, business and legal guidance, delivering solutions for growth and profit. When working with me, my clients are free to address any challenge or concern without feeling intimidated or judged. Instead, they feel safe, confident, and cared to their core. Together, we replace fear and worry with practical answers and clear actions. And Mark's web address is mycoopartner.com. So Mark, welcome. I look forward to your presentation. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, I will do my best. So I get questions about trademarks all the time. And it's generally the same questions, and they're the early questions. And I understand a lot of the confusion, so I will try to give you enough background, and hopefully we'll spend time with your individual questions. So why trademark? A little context is necessary. As humans moved from being nomads, hunter-gatherers, to agrarian social structures, one of the things that happened was they started to make a lot of rules. And when you begin to own things, it became clear that you wanted to have rules around your stuff. So a body of agreements, which we call laws, developed around all the properties, real property, land, personal property, things. And eventually, we realized that ideas, or it evolved that ideas began to be considered property. And this is what we refer to as intellectual property, and trademark is a subset of the intellectual property doctrines. So intellectual property refers to creations of the mind, inventions, symbols, names, and images used in commerce, and literary and artistic works. And we know them under the banners of patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Intellectual property rights developed because they allow creators of unique collections of ideas to own their work, invest in it, and benefit from its application in commerce and society. If we didn't own it, we probably couldn't do that. And why? Because the progress and well-being of humanity rely on continually creating and inventing new and better elements of technology and culture. So legal protection of these creations encourages the commitment of resources for innovation and the protection of new ideas and their applications to the benefit of the greater good. The protection of intellectual property and promotion of new creations fuels economic growth, creates new jobs and industries, and enhances overall enjoyment and quality of life. Therefore, they deserve protection. Intellectual property falls into 2 basic categories: industrial property, inventions, trademarks, industrial designs, and something called geographical indications we will not need to talk about. And the other group is copyrights, creative works not necessarily having a commercial value, although we know they sometimes do. Novels, poems, plays, images, music, drawings, etc. So what's the benefit to all of us by protecting these rights? Well, intellectual property rights reward creativity and human ingenuity. And as you can see, without that, we would be back as hunter-gatherers. Protection of rights ensures the incentive to innovate and improve, fueling the progress of all humankind. So those, just quickly, seeing intellectual ideas as a property is the background for what you've asked us to help you with today, which is the trademark. Trademarks' origin dates to when craftsmen, the Middle Ages, reproduced their signatures or marks on artistic works or products that they produced. For legal definition purposes, a trademark is a distinctive word, symbol, or phrase that identifies a creator's products and distinguishes them from the products of anyone else. The iconic Nike swoosh immediately and powerfully identifies the clothes and products sold by Nike. You see the swoosh, you know what's coming. When such marks are used to identify services, for example, Curves or Jiffy Lube, rather than products, these are called service marks. They are generally treated the exact same as trademarks. So for today, we are just talking about trademarks, and we're not going to bother with that distinction. Trademark protection can extend beyond words, symbols, and phrases to include other aspects of the product, such as color or its packaging. Owens Corning, the makers of fiberglass insulation, always color the product pink and use the color pink in a lot of their advertising and marketing. Coca-Cola, the bottle shape became so part of the brand that it is an element of its trademark. Both of these are typical identifying features unique to the products that become an element of their trademark and can get protected. We refer to these as trade dress, the color, the shape of the bottle, but we will not really need to go into it. I just wanted you to be aware of it. The idea behind it. Trademarks make it easy for consumers to quickly identify the source of a given good. If the owner has created lasting positive experiences with its products and services, the quality of the product, through marketing and advertising, creating lasting impressions, the mark becoming popular in the culture, seeing the mark then immediately evokes the positive consumer experience. The linking of trademarks to that positive experience is an essential strategy in creating a powerful brand for a company, its services, or its products. So, what laws govern trademarks? Trademarks are governed by state and federal law. The original protection arose out of the common law, court-created law, people taking their issues before a judge and beginning to evolve an understanding of certain principles around the rights that we're talking about in intellectual property and trademarks. Over time, the legislative bodies, Congress and the Senate of the United States, and local state legislative bodies created actual written laws that we all follow. So what are the prerequisites that your mark must satisfy if it is to become a protected trademark? Basically, a mark must be distinctive. It must identify the specific source of a particular good. Elements of the relationship between the mark and the underlying product that assess a mark's distinctiveness and therefore determines the degree of legal protection afforded that mark. The more distinctive, the more protection, fall into 4 categories. First is arbitrary or fanciful marks. The second are suggestive marks. The third, descriptive, and the fourth, generic. Arbitrary and fanciful marks. These bear no logical relationship to the underlying product. When you hear the words Exxon, Kodak, and Apple, these words do not bear any inherent relationship to the products that you know that they represent: fuel, film, or computers. The Nike swoosh bears no inherent relationship to athletic shoes, gear, golf balls, or anything else that they want to sell you. So arbitrary and fanciful marks are by nature inherently distinctive. And when inherently distinctive marks, they are given a higher degree of protection. A suggestive mark relates to a characteristic of the underlying good or service. Copper tone. The word conveys a notion suggested of suntan, perhaps, but does not specifically describe the product, which is a lotion. So some exercise of your imagination as the consumer is needed to associate that word with the underlying product. The word is not totally unrelated to that product, as with arbitrary or fanciful marks, but suggestive marks are also inherently distinctive and under the law are given a high degree of protection. The third, a descriptive mark, directly describes a characteristic or a quality of the underlying product. Could be a color, an odor, a function, dimensions, or ingredients. So by example, Holiday Inn and Vision Center, the marks, the names, describe aspects of the underlying product or service. They tell us something about the product that we must then associate with the mark, which is a little different than the first two and has essentially two steps to earning its right to be a mark. A descriptive mark acquires secondary meaning when the consuming public associates that mark primarily with a producer rather than the product. The term Holiday Inn, therefore, has acquired secondary meaning because the consuming public, over time, associated that term with the particular provider of hotel services, the owner of the mark, and not with hotel services in general. Descriptive marks are not inherently distinctive, as with the first two. So they become protected only once they have acquired this secondary meaning. A generic mark, the last of the bunch, is a mark that describes the general category to which the underlying product belongs. For example, the term computer is a generic term for computer equipment. Generic marks are entitled to no protection under the trademark law. A manufacturer selling computer brand of computers, selling a brand called computer with respect to that product, is so generic that it will not be protected by trademark law. That would allow a very useful element of identifying a product, and in doing so, give a single manufacturer control over the use of such a general term that would create an unfair and unwarranted competitive advantage. So, keep in the back of your mind, the more generic something is in anything you've created, the less likely you will be able to get protected as a mark. So, practical and tactical. What do you really need to know about trademarks? I would think the first thing you would want to know is, how do I acquire rights in a mark sufficient to make it my trademark? If a trademark meets the requirements for protection, the things we just discussed, its distinction and fulfilling those elements that make it unique enough to protect it, then the rights to the trademark can be acquired in one of two ways. The first is the simplest, and it only has a certain amount of protection and oomph, and that's by being the first to use the mark in commerce, which means you could be selling your product or service under the banner of the mark, or in addition to that, you could have started promoting your good or service using the mark in all marketing and advertising that you're doing. And this is how a mark is created in common law. The second way of creating a mark is now availing ourselves of the legislation of the federal and state governments that amplify the protection of the mark. So the second way of creating a mark is by being the first to register that mark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. If your mark is distinctive inherently, the first two categories, you can do that immediately. However, if your mark is a distinctive mark, like Holiday Inn or anything that requires that second evolution, these qualify for protection and can only be registered after they have acquired that secondary meaning that we described earlier. So what does it mean to register a trademark? Registration is not required for a mark to be protected. It's protected if you do the right things by common law, but registration confers additional benefits. Registration gives a party the right to use the mark nationwide, and common law marks are more limited by the geography in which they operate. Registration allows nationwide, constitutes nationwide notice to others that you own the trademark. When you see that R in the circle, that is exactly what it's doing. It enables you to bring a lawsuit in federal court if your mark is used without permission, if somebody else's promotion looks amazingly like your mark, and this is called an infringement, so that you are protected against such infringement. Registration allows you to potentially, therefore, recover triple damages, 3 times the amount of actual loss you suffered, attorney's fees, and certain other remedies. And by registering, once the mark has been, 5 years after the mark has been registered, the mark itself can become incontestable, so that there are circumstances where a mark has been registered that someone can challenge it. After 5 years, the mark can become incontestable, and the exclusive right to use the mark is conclusively established. Applications for registration are subject to the approval by the Patent and Trademark Office. Your mark may be rejected on a number of grounds. The PTO may refuse to register generic or descriptive marks that have not, generic marks because they're too generic, or descriptive marks that have not attained the secondary meaning that I described above. They can reject on the basis that they are immoral or scandalous. Certain geographic marks can be rejected, and marks that primarily use surnames can be rejected, and marks that are likely to cause confusion with existing marks will be rejected. Now, the rejection of the mark at the federal level does not necessarily mean that you're not entitled to a certain amount of protection. It only means that the mark is not entitled to the additional benefits listed above. Some states have their own registration systems, and it might be worth looking at them if the circumstances warrant, but generally, if you want to register a mark, you're going to do it at the federal level. So, some best practices. The moment you think you have something you want to protect, and for many of us, trademark protection is around the name of a business or a tagline for a business, service, or program. What I recommend you do is you assert your common law right. And there's a very simple way to do it. If you believe that what you created is unique, it's your invention, it's your collection of symbols, words, or phrases, if you're going to share it in any public way, you take the 2 letters, capital T, capital M, and you put them in superscript at the end of the word or phrase. If you're going to send it in an email, if you're going to put it online in some version of it, always use the TM. What that's telling the world is that you assert that that this is a unique creation of your own, that it's your intellectual property, and that as owner, you are telling the world, this is mine and it's protected. The question often arises, when do I actually take the steps of registering? What I'm going to tell you is generally, and I acknowledge the existence of LegalZoom, but merely using a inexpensive service to register is not the whole story. The law presumes when we register with the Patent and Trademark Office that we have investigated that this is truly ours, that no others like this exist, and that we are entitled to this protection. The issue becomes, do we really know that? And LegalZoom or any other service does not tell you this. So that if you have not exhaustively satisfied yourself that this is uniquely yours, it doesn't exist in commerce, no one else is going to be able to insert an earlier, because it's a first in time, first in right protection, that it didn't exist earlier, that I'm entitled to this protection. So what can happen is, as you saw above, that if it's been registered 5 years, there may be a presumptive ownership right that nobody can challenge. Prior to that, if someone did have used the same mark or sufficiently similar mark before you did, that you have gone through the effort of registration, you have then gone on to promote and create this as part of your brand. Now someone is going to be able to defeat your mark, and you're going to lose all that investment and momentum. So I just want you to be aware that the mere registration without really understanding the law can create what I will call a backdoor problem in the future. And I recommend that until you really believe that this is going to be a key element in your marketing, I would stay with the common law protection, just asserting the ownership in every way you can until you're really clear, I'm not going to change this mark. So if it's a name of my banner, like my brand name, if it's a key component of what brings me revenue, and this is going to be the name, then it makes sense to think about registration. What I have seen, both in the naming of a brand or a company or a program, is many change within 12 months. That as we start thinking about our business and we're evolving and we're trying out this program, we go, maybe that wasn't it. Well, if I went to the trouble of registering and I did it right, I could have a significant amount of investment that I now have to abandon. So that, I think, will give you enough of a background. And now I will let you ask any question about either what I said, or hopefully questions about what should I do in my own business as it relates to trademark.
Well, thank you, Mark. That was awesome. I learned so much. I have a question. I'll just go ahead and start. Sometimes it prime the pump. Can you talk to a little bit about the difference between trademark and copywriting?
Sure, that's easy.
Good. I didn't stump you.
Just thinking back, as I laid out intellectual property, one thing about trademark is it's going to be, let's call it, smaller than copywriting. Copywriting is very specific in that it is a protection of, let's say it's a matter of degree. Copyright is, first of all, one doesn't need to register anything. There is an inherent right in your own work product. So let's use the simpler one, words. Anything that you have created that are words, could be pages and pages of words, and that creation is definitely unique. Those words, because they're yours, have an inherent right to be treated as yours, what we call the copyright. And while there is a procedure for registering a work as a copyrighted work, as I read the law, it's really unnecessary. I also think it's a little less practical because every time you would write something, you take your $10 for the application and your X dollars per page, and you send it along to USPTO. What did it really gain you? Because what you can put at the bottom of the page, you've all seen copyright reserved, 2000, whatever. You can put that exact same emblem on your copy as soon as it's finished. The difference between a simple difference between that and a mark, the common law mark, all you can put on it is TM. And the registered mark, the R in a circle, you can't put on until you actually are given that by the government. Now, the other benefit that I like about registering a trademark is that the world perceives that R in a circle as very, like, it goes, oh, that's big, that's bigger, that's important. There's a marketing bounce you get from the R in a circle. So that's a big distinction between trademark intellectual right and copy intellectual right. There's not much more I get by registering the copyright, but I can, and in certain instances I would, and I might do that more in the music industry than anywhere else, because there's a lot of, it's actually interesting, more interesting, the challenges and problems in the music world, because there's only 8 notes and 5 middle notes, and we use them over and over again. And My Sweet Lord and George Harrison, I don't see that as an infringement, but they did. So in the music world, I might want to take my work and register it. More than in any other, this is just my opinion, more than anywhere else, because we've seen there's often a lot of dispute there. I'm sure the movie people do register, but again, the movie is kind of unique. Melodies, wow, they cross over a lot. So you might want to register a body of work as a copyrighted work in an instance like that. But essentially, all you're doing, and I do want you to do this, all rights reserved, just go grab someone else's, the one you like best, and when you're done with something that's copy, your blog post, anything that you're putting out in the public that's unique that you don't want others using. You know, when you write a novel, you want to copyright it, but you're not going to look, you're not policing that. There's no need to really police that the same way. But your marketing material, yeah, there is. So you want to assert that I own this copy. And you can do that, just put it in the footer as soon as you're done creating it, because that right accrues to you the moment that you have invented a unique series of words that came out of your own head in that time, and nobody else can say that. So you own, because we have created a concept of intellectual property, and the determinants are that it's unique and that it's uniquely yours. Well, you own those words, you own that melody, you own that image as soon as you create it.
Okay.
Does that make the distinction? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I see Kathleen shaking her head a lot because do you make
She's in
music?
music, so she
Yeah.
gets what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any other questions for Mark?
I have a ton.
Go ahead, Virginia.
So to piggyback on what you were just saying, if you create either, words that you copyright and not actually register but put all rights reserved, or you put the TM after your logo or whatever, but you haven't registered either of these with the government, do you have any legal recourse at that point, or do they have to be registered with the government in order to have legal?
You have legal recourse immediately, unless you don't do, as soon as you create it, you own it. But let's go from there. But nobody knows that, right?
Right.
So the property right is created the moment I make this unique thing. So what's important? You need to assert it right from the beginning. So if you throw it out there and you don't assert your right, you lose the ability to challenge others' use of what is uniquely yours.
So everything that I've put out there for the last 10 years in my business that I haven't done this with, I no longer actually have specific rights to?
You have a right, but you may have made it difficult for yourself to defend that right.
Okay.
Now, in terms of copywriting, what do I really want to do? If someone uses a phrase that I've used, what do I care? I mean, I'm sure many of the phrases I've written, somebody else wrote. In the whole body of it, I want to protect it.
I have a question.
Trademarking is a little different. I always want to protect that. So getting back to your question, you need to assert the right immediately, because if you didn't, how are you going to prove when someone says, no, I came up with that first? As I said, this is a concept called the ownership of the right is first in time, first in right. And all of these disputes come down to who created it, who created it first. We all know the concept of independent creation. We see it a lot in the world of science. There are many breakthroughs in science that two guys in different continents had at about the same time, okay? That exists, we know that. So you're great, and you know this from trademarking, especially phrases and taglines. You have this great idea, or you love this phrase you came up with, and you go out there, you never heard it before, and you go investigate, and you find 10 people are using it. So these things are independently created, and they can be the same as other people's creations. What's important about that? Well, who gets to win? Who owns that mark as it relates to our body of law protecting it is who had it first. So that's why I said the moment you like a phrase, TM. Whether or not you'll ever be able to register, I don't care. You immediately say, it's mine, it's unique to me. That's where the first in time, first in right comes in. It may be true, but it may not be protectable. So I want you behaving as if it's yours first, always. Worry about if you don't get a cease and desist letter saying, oh no, that's mine, then just consider it's yours. And we'll deal. And if that happens, give me a call. I'm not going to teach you about cease and desist and what to do today.
We don't want those letters.
Right. But it's not the end of the world. So if you think it's yours, behave as if it's yours and start taking appropriate action. But that's why I'm telling you, I'm not immediately going to go register.
Yeah, because that's the expense. Laura, you had a question.
Well, done right, it's an expense. It's a big expense. Done LegalZoom is about $500. But as I said, if I didn't do it right, and I'm not trying to get you all to spend $5,000 with lawyers, it's not my intention. It's often not warranted. But it doesn't make sense to go through any expense if it's not really the protection you thought you were buying.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Laura had a question mark.
Yes.
Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just kind of piggybacking off of what Virginia asked, where she said she wrote a bunch of blog posts like 10 years ago and never maybe wrote that copyright, that statement. But if you have a copyright statement within your website, does that like a blanket copyright for everything,
No.
all the contents? No, so it has to be each
Has to be for unique works. And let me use that. It's a great example. So, and this has happened among our community, that someone said, holy, they saw the exact 2 pages that they wrote.
Oh.
So I want to go back to Virginia and say, let's say that happens. And you didn't put the copyright at the bottom, but somebody lifted your blog post. What I'm going to say is, A, I believe it's yours, and I believe you can tell them not to use it. The next question is, and it's always the practical question, whether it's copyright or trademark, a common law trademark specifically, if you see someone else using it, what are you going to do about it as a practical matter? So to me, it's more important to assert it all the time. But whether or not you're going to take an action when you see someone using something similar or the same is really a practical concern, meaning it costs money. So even if I register
And time
a
and
mark,
energy. Yeah.
and time and energy, but I deal in money because that's the most expensive. So let me give an example. I spent $500,000 creating an element of my brand essential to my business and protected it with a trademark. Well, if I spent $500,000, I'm obviously a pretty going concern. Well, you can be sure that I'm going to spend money protecting that mark. I had a client early in my career, cottage industry, working out of her apartment, and she was she's trained in textiles, and she designed knit sweaters. And she used her brand name, her company name was J-O-S as in Sam, Joss. And it was an Indonesian word meaning good fortune, good luck, whatever. She gets a letter from Hugo Boss, from their general counsel, saying, you can't use that word. I'm like, wait a minute, does this guy own the alphabet? I mean, yes, they're in the same class. That's a problem. They're both in garments. So generally a trademark is protected within a class, and there are 40 some odd classes. So what was interesting, whether or not, for whatever reason, Hugo Boss thought it was important enough, and the concept is called dilution of your trademark, and I get it, but here's the 800-pound gorilla. And it's really not going to matter to their business because she's a competitor, but it might matter that someone says their brand is being diluted and they're going to lose their own trademark. Now, what did we have to do? It all became practical. She's not going to fight Hugo Boss. She might even been able to win, not with me, but with somebody. But is she going to do that? I mean, I tried to eat, and this is where I got a little pissed off. All I asked for is, can you pay her to redo her stationery? She'll give it up. They wouldn't even do that.
Wow.
Now, I assume, I didn't read the case law, maybe it mattered in the concept of dilution, but I just thought they were being pricks. But again, the practical is, I'm going to assert the right. What am I going to do if someone's diluting me or, directly infringing? That's another matter. And it's going to depend on money first, but yes, Cindy, time and energy. What is it worth doing? So the flip side of that is, that's why I tell you all, what do I want to invest in my mark, in creating and promoting my mark? But I want to keep these practical elements in view, because that's how decisions get made. It's nice to learn principles, but I deal in the practical almost all the time in my work with my clients. And that's where I differ from other lawyers for sure, is they just stick with it. Well, this is what the law says. Well, what I care about is, what does it mean to my business?
Right.
In this case, here's what marks mean to your business. I'm going to invest in creating elements, my brand around them. I better understand where I'm protecting them, where they're strong, and some thought to what happens if plans change, and what should I do?
So one of the things that I ran across I think I've had my logo now for 5 more years for Booked by Barthel Travel, and my business card, my logo, everything says Booked by Barthel Travel, has some suitcases and says, just pack your bags. But I've never trademarked it. I've never done anything. I've never put anything. And a couple of years ago, I went on a local competitor's website who does the similar thing that I do. And sure enough, on her website, one of her web pages said, just pack your bags. And I was like, ooh, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I know she started her business after my business. So, I mean, obviously at this point, I'm not doing anything about it, nor do I intend to. But at that point, I understood that those words, just pack your bags, could not be trademarked because they were just words.
Well, they could be trademarked. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that are very important, and I didn't get to it in the presentation, but I tell people we have the most robust way of searching trademarks that has ever existed, and it's free. It's called Google.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come up with a phrase, remember I said that there's a presumption in the law of registration of trademarks that you, who are coming to me as the registrant, have exhaustively looked at this and said, I'm first. This is mine and I'm first. So when people, I don't care if you're going to register anything, you actually want to go in a particular direction around a phrase, start promoting it. Again, what we talked about in the early part of this was infusing certain positive experiences around a phrase that succinctly become associated with my business, with what's unique about it, what's good about it, and what I want you to remember. I want you to remember the Nike swoosh. If I'm Nike, it's like, boom, yeah, just pack your bags. You want people to think about, what a great phrase, just pack your bags. Now, what did I say about independent creation? That's not a hard phrase to put together if you're thinking about travel. And that goes to elements of how distinctive something is. Can I give it the protection under the law of registering it as a mark? Now, I don't know whether you can or can't. The point of the story is the less generic something is, the more unique something is, the easier it is for me to do that. So I might not be able to protect it the way I want to with the R and the circle, But if it works and it communicates what is unique about this, hey, you don't have to think about anything. Just pack your bags. I mean, it's a great phrase. I love it because it tells people immediately. What is it telling your ideal client that they wanted? They came to you going, I hate planning travel. Oh, just pack your bags.
I do it all. You just pack your bags.
I tell people, what do business owners want to do? They want to do, why do they start a business? Because they want to do something. What did they find out when they got to business? They kept having to do other stuff. But I just want to be a headhunter. I just want to be a metal trader. So I tell them, just keep doing what you love. We'll take care of business. Because what do I want them to think about? Oh, I don't have to do all that stuff. Right. I don't have to plan my travel. What do I have to do? One thing, just pack my bags. So those are powerful concepts. We do want to protect them. But the more unique they are, the easier they are to protect. And whether I register it or not, I still may promote it. I still may TM it because it's telling people the only thing you have to do is pack your bags.
Well, I've now developed a signature system, a 5-step signature system, and just pack your bags is one of the 5 steps.
Okay. What do you call the signature system?
And I have not put that out yet. I haven't. Okay. I've got a graphic, I've got verbiage, I've got everything behind that. And I haven't put it on my website yet. So
does it have a unique name?
It's my signature system.
Okay.
Actually, it does. Custom Travel with Ease is
okay. Great. So, okay. Whether that stays or not, let's use that for a minute. All I want you to do is you're going to TM that now.
So here's what my confusion is. What exactly am I TMing? So the signature system is it's Custom Travel with Ease. It's the way that it's the 5 steps that I've developed over the past 10 years of my business.
That's okay, stop there. What you're TMing is every time that appears,
that phrase.
The name of the signature program is, say it.
Custom Travel with Ease.
Custom Travel with Ease, superscript TM.
Okay, and now does that...
What you're protecting as a mark is the name of the proprietary system.
Well, what about the graphic and all of the verbiage that goes with it?
If does it all appear in one, like, is it the graphic and the phrase?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hate to bore you with the law.
Sorry.
If you were applying to register the mark, the simplest way to do it is the phrase. Phrase only. The PTO, Patent and Trademark Office, you can submit both the phrase and the graphic and have them protected as one and the same. But if you're really just trying to grab the real estate, the territory, at least you want the phrase to be protected. Because graphics change. You know, that logo, you may change the color, you may change some elements of it, but if you have the phrase and it's registered to you, that's good enough. And until you're, a multi-million dollar, until you're IBM, well, smaller than that, but like.
Thanks, I don't want to get.
But I'm just saying, that I want the blue, I want that particular type. I want everything about my trademark to be protected because I'm sinking billions into this. For us, smaller businesses, what do I really want? It's not so much the graphic. I might hate that graphic next year, but that phrase, I love the phrase. I want that phrase. I don't want it to change. I'm going to grab the phrase. Now, this is only when you go to get the R in a circle. And I will tell you all, I said that you have the cheapest, most powerful search engine at your fingertips to look at what else is going on out there that looks like me, because I want to know if this is unique to me. But there is a way for you, the individual, you can go to the Patent and Trademark website and search that phrase. And I recommend you do that.
Okay.
Actually, what I recommend people always do, here's the sequence.
Hey, Mark.
Custom travel.
Mark,
Yes?
it's 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Boom.
Hold on a sec. Hold that thought.
Okay.
I want to make sure everybody get, I will stay on so that you can finish answering Virginia's question after this, but I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. So everybody hold that thought. I want to just go around the room real quick and do announcements in case anybody has to leave. I want to make sure we can get everybody in. So Laura, do you have any announcements you want to share? Oh, you're muted, sweetheart.
Sorry, I forgot. No, nothing I can think of right now. I'm good.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Virginia, any announcements?
Since this is my first time on, I don't know what that would entail, so I'll just say no.
Okay.
Come to Spain with me in November and drink wine.
Yeah, thank you. Cindy has to go. Any announcements before you leave, Cindy?
No, thanks
Okay.
for letting me be here. Take
You're
care, Mark.
welcome. Take care.
Cindy, be well. We're praying for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Diana, are you there?
Yes.
Any
Can
announcements?
you hear me? My
Yes.
announcement is I love you guys, and I think this is really powerful. And I want to thank you for putting it together, Jill. And Mark, I can't wait to talk to you, like in person in Stanford. Are you going to be there?
I will not be there, but
Oh,
you can always, I mean, I'm available if you want to talk. So.
sure. Well, no, I just want to get together, and I think you guys are amazing. And you've inspired me to really think this through, and thank you. That's my announcement. Great gratitude.
Thank you, Diana. We're glad you were able to make it.
Me too.
Yeah. Mark, any announcements that you wish to share?
It's kind of an announcement, but it's going to depend on the answer to this question. What I'm going to ask you is, should this be a webinar?
Yes.
Okay, so the announcement is this will be a webinar in the near future, because I mean, these are the questions that get asked all the time that I know is going through everyone's mind all the time. So what was the question, Virginia, that I was trying to answer? Because again, it was about
doing the research, doing
okay,
due diligence.
doing the research. So it goes like this. You have the phrase. You love the phrase. Here's what I want you to do. Number one, before you do anything, you put the TM on it just in case you copy and paste it again. Number two, you go to Google. You put the phrase in the search. You Google it. Do whatever you want to about seeing the results, which results you're going to grab, whatever notes you're going to make, if you're going to bookmark something. Then I want you to start taking the phrase and doing different permutations. I want you to search it different versions, different ways. What you're going to learn from this is, oh, someone already has it.
Yeah.
Oh, if I tweak this, I can, okay, great. You know, just because someone else has it, you know, they're not, you're going to do a certain assessment. Then the next thing is you go to Office, and I don't know how to do it here, or I put the link. If I ever get technologically competent, I would have had I did want to have the link to USPTO, but I'm telling you, if you Google
That's easy to search.
USPTO, first thing comes right up. The database of either registered or pending trademarks is the acronym is T as in Thomas, E as in Edward, S as in Sam, S as in Sam. Now, it's not as intuitive a search engine as Google. Google, you just put it in and it figures it out.
Right.
But what I want you to do there is search words only. I believe it says active and dead. Gives you a few categories. You're all very smart people. You'll figure out. Just use it a few times. But take the most important word of your phrase and take the whole phrase and search it there. And what you will see is a whole bunch of, you'll see a lot of both applications and registered marks. Why do you do this? Not to get discouraged and get sad, but you'll see, like, okay, do I have gold or do I have fool's gold? So I may from that I may go, I'm not going to register it. Again, what did we say? Geographically, you may be protected. You know, like when you're doing business I mean, we're all virtual now, and I get it.
Right.
But if your business is in your state or you're doing travel locally, well, you may be protected there. No one's going to bother you. So you have your trade, you have your common law right to whatever limit it is. But maybe I can't have my, registered federal trademark. Okay. But maybe that just puts me back to the drawing board because I want one. I mean, I do. I recommend having the R in a circle because it's powerful. It makes you, wow, that must be a big business, or that must be
increase, right, Mark?
Yeah, exactly. So I just want you to start behaving like I have a great idea, trademark, research, get the lay of the land, because most people don't do that, and they're making their investment decisions without the background and context of, what is my best course of action? Like given our scarce resources, what should I do next?
Well, and the reason I nodded vigorously when you said, should this be a webinar? I mean, I have a business background. I've been running my business for 11 years. Have I trademarked or copyrighted or investigated any of this? No, I never even crossed my mind that I should do any of this.
Well,
so.
It's not a should, and that's I'm glad you said what you just said, because remember what I said earlier. I could have all the protection in the world. What am I going to do about it?
Right. Are you gonna actually
do anything about it? So what we're always looking at is, I always look at risk rewards. Actually, I look at risk and probability. So what's the risk if I do none of that? Somebody says to me, stop. And what's the likelihood of that? What's the probability? If I look at my mark, and I go, no one's paying attention to me anyway. Probably not very likely. So I don't want you to, like in a perfect world, see why I want the R has nothing to do with protecting the mark so much as it is I want the R. I want to go, transforming problems into profits. R, because someone goes, he must be a pretty good consultant. He has an R. They'll say it's automatic. It's more about the marketing.
Now I want to go get an R for everything.
I'll be honest with you, I always want the R. Now, going to probabilities and likelihoods and do I need tos, great, when do I want to make the investment? Go back to what I said. Do that basic investigation and go, wait a minute, this phrase is tough because anybody can say this. So I'm just going to keep saying it loud and proud. So I don't need an R if I'm, okay, R cost me, let's say it cost me $3,000 or $4,000. Now I go, no R, over time I'm going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 on marketing and advertising. Or in my time, using time. I'm going to do a lot of talks. So I didn't actually write a check, but I invested to get the same emotional experience of my mark, my brand, that an R would give me.
Gotcha.
Okay, these are just practical. This is why I said it's business first for me. Law only exists for me in a context of business. It only matters to me as it relates to the small businesses I represent on my own. So that's, I always look at what's the practical implication of what I just learned is, okay, I'm not going to get an R. I'm going to do a lot of signature talks. Because I can't, not that I don't want an R, I can't get an R. It's too generic. Or I went to tests and I saw 20 of those applications. Same exact phrase. Well, I'm not going to bother. Because the standard used under the law by the Patent and Trademark Office is called likelihood of confusion. That's why the more distinctive, when something is seen as likely to confuse with another mark, another brand using that mark, you're not going to get approved.
Right.
And that is the basic standard for almost all trademark questions, is likelihood of confusion. So we live in a world of creating words, and similar to notes on the scale,
Absolutely.
words are generally generic too.
Yeah.
So, and especially, guess what? The clever assemblages of words are always the ones that we're all thinking of.
Yeah.
So again, it's very hard to make them distinctive enough
Right.
that they've
So-
never been used before.
But at least you've given me, the idea and the tools and the information to search. I mean, the several different phrases that I use in both of my business constantly. So
I mean, that if you took anything away today, take that away.
yeah, which is good because I have not done that.
It's
Most
funny
folks
to
are
me
trying that.
how many people don't, because it's kind of, I mean, it was the reason I did it when I first did it is I knew, ooh, I like this, but it's kind of my nature. I go, I can't be the first one who thought of that.
Yeah, but I always assumed that if I could get the URL for it, nobody else is using it,
Great point.
right?
Great point, because I tell people, I actually didn't remember this, but I usually tell people, the first thing is I do the TM. The second thing I do is I look for the URL, because I don't care about the mark, the registered mark. I need the real estate first. And in the internet world, in today's virtual world, URL is real estate.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more important than the real estate.
So
Now, it's not so likely, and I'd have to look up a lot more of the case law to go, well, I had the URL, even after they were asserting it as a trademark. I know there are cases about this. The early ones were, it was called, I think it was called poaching, where people would, in the early days, they knew that cleverly, they thought of all the big companies who are the early adopters or not the big companies. And what they did is they went out and bought the URLs like IBM.com.
oh, so many people would do
Right.
that.
So early on, there was no legislation about it. Now, which is why I brought it up, there are some cases when you can't do that, but like your phrase as an example wouldn't be one of them. And I would rather have the URL than the mark, than the acknowledgement of the mark, because the commercial application, if I'm promoting the phrase and bringing people to me, is I need the URL.
I haven't thought of that. Okay. So I have some work to do.
Go ahead.
But thank you. This has really been very informative and one of the things that I know that I need to start considering a little bit more as we get bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, you're going to get linked to this whole recording. So
Okay.
I encourage you, I know it's hard to watch ourselves, but I encourage you to watch the progression of your energy when you went from your notes where you talked about the legal stuff and how animated you get.
So clear on that.
And as you think about your webinar, think about maybe less content and more Q&A, because you really, that's your sweet spot.
I almost didn't do any content today.
The content was great. Please don't take that the wrong way. I just
know,
heard your
I just-
delivery.
Well, guys, thank
Bye.
you so much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
There will be, the content could go almost exactly like the Q&A. That's just a matter of practice.
Yeah. Well, you'll have this resource now to help, if you want to listen to it again, transcribe it, whatever. So, but if you watch your body language, you just love answering. You're in your sweet spot. So I just
I love answering questions.
Yeah.
That's why it's kind of what my business is in business to do, is answer questions. So.
Yeah. So I love that. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for coming today. It was so much fun to see you. Yeah.
I couldn't believe how effortlessly I said yes. Normally I would not.
I'm glad you did.
as you know, you can throw me up in front of the room in our
Yep.
shared rooms. I'll always do it, but
Yep.
in
Now
this,
it's not so scary, is it?
no. And I know that it's only scary because we make it so. I mean, we've decided it's scary.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you
But
did
it was fun. I hope it was what you wanted.
Yes, and I love the questions you are getting, and great content for you for the future. So come back anytime. We'd love to have
All right.
you, even as a
Bye.
guest.
Bye, Diana.
Bye,
Love
Diane.
you guys. Have
All
a
right.
great weekend. Thank
You
you so
too.
much.
All right,
Bye-bye.
everybody. I'll let everybody go. Have a great time, Mark. Good to see you.
Good seeing you, Jill. Take care.
Okay. Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.